If you've stayed current with the most recent videos, the subject of this video might catch you off guard. I've been meditating for a long time. I started in elementary school. I'm now 23 years old, so I don't know, is that a decade, I guess? But anyway, it's been an intricate part of my life, and I realized that I've never actually made a video about it. If you've been with the channel a long time, you know that a while ago I was fairly heavily identified with the Theravadan tradition of Buddhism. And anymore, it's only a sort of a loose affiliation, kind of a distant respect, and I don't say much more than that on the subject. But the meditation practice has stuck with me, even into my move here to Japan, although it has certainly been less so. I think if you've kept up with the recent videos, this talk about objectivity, subjectivity, awareness preceding neurology, really makes it a very unique basis for a discussion on meditation that I don't think is regularly heard. And I think that my subscribers would be interested in this topic. You guys, my subscribers, like you're not here. Hi, subscribers. I think you guys would like this, but let me know. Let me know what you think, and I'll sort of guide future videos around your preferences, because it's all the same to me. I won't talk about stuff that I don't like to talk about, so if there's a bunch of stuff that you want to hear more than others, then let me know. I think starting a discussion in meditation takes a really sort of a goofy, it starts off always on the wrong foot. It just says, here's this spiritual master that we have faith in, and he says X, Y, and Z about meditation, therefore that's the appropriate meditation practice. But in the case of meditation, when you understand it for what it really is, you can address proper meditation like you can address anything else by objective principle. You can say what meditation should be and what it should not be, just like you could say anything about morality or piety or politics or anything else. So this whole objectifying and rationalizing meditation will probably not sit well with some people, but listen to what I have to say and you might change your mind. To begin with, I think the way you're not supposed to meditate is immerse yourself into your own thoughts and your own fantasies. A long time I was part of online groups in different forums where oftentimes there were other kids. You know, I was a kid, of course, but then I quickly became the oldest guy in those kinds of groups. And there would be a lot of kids coming in saying that they've had these wondrous visions, and oftentimes they amounted to no more than just personal fantasy and dreams, maybe waking dreams, maybe deliberate imagination that they then told everyone about to feel special about themselves. There's a lot of superstition surrounding experiences in meditation, and that's because it's all subjective. It's all up to you. And so honesty and honorability, these kinds of things become very important. So to decide what exactly proper meditation would be, you first have to understand what meditation is. And that is, it's the experience of something that it might lie beyond our biology. You know, people who are interested in meditation for transcendental purposes probably subscribe to a worldview that would account for something that precedes the physical world. If you're one of those people and you don't meditate, this might be a good chance to start. And really, as soon as you realize that meditation is only about having some kind of experience that precedes the biology, it takes a lot of the mystical silliness out of it. That mostly lies in the fact that imagination is accountable, or the images, the forms of our imagination is accountable in large part, if not entirely, by our own neurology. Even systems of language, and indeed logic itself. You know, I have kind of a hard-on for logic, but when it comes to meditation, you have to realize that logic is a linguistic system. Okay, it makes sense because of the lexicon of language, these sort of ingrained rules that come with language. But language, even when we are dealing in matters of truth, can only be a representation of reality. So if your meditation focuses on words or focus on thoughts or linguistic patterns in your head in any way, you are meditating on fantasy. What you really have to do is focus on what comes before thought and before worldviews, before subjectivity. So to that, the proper meditation, as I see it, would be something that divorces oneself from one's worldview and divorces oneself from a perception of self. Any system of thought operates linguistically. That is to say, if you call yourself a determinist, if you call yourself a phantasmagoric, any of these, that is all a system of language at its core. And language is fantasy. It is at best merely a representation of reality. And what you want to do is have an experience, and a direct experience with reality itself, sort of a communion, if you would, with reality. And the way you do that is to make sure that you're not focusing on anything that would be accountable by your biology. And there's a lot that goes on in your mental landscape that would. So it's different desires, for one. Desires, like we were talking about, the subjective needs that can be expressed through the worldview or by the worldview are very important in meditation, recognizing them anyway. When you feel the need, for example, I was meditating the other day and I felt the need to check my email. Well, why? Because checking my email might tell me something. I might get a comment on one of my YouTube videos that make me feel good. Why? Because my sense of self needs that sort of thing. Why? Because my sense of self is operating by this linguistic worldview that ultimately came after that which created the worldview. Am I talking too fast? What you want to do is see if you can precede thought and systems of language and expectation entirely. And what it feels like is it's the absolute of the living in the moment, that the only thing that exists is your biological perception, and you don't bother putting any psychic energy, that is to say, any psychological energy, into maintaining your worldview, and you let that pass, you let that fall out of existence. It's very scary, actually, if it's your first time doing it, because you feel like you're letting go of yourself, and that somehow you will go crazy if you do that. And if you practice correctly, you'll know precisely what I mean. It's this weird pull, this weird persuasive force to tell you, no, don't let go of that. Don't let go of that. That's like the one string that's holding your whole crazy self together. And in meditation, we learn how to let go of that one string that holds your crazy self together, because we don't want your crazy self. We want what precedes the self, being awareness itself. So the next time you sit down and you meditate, all that you have to do is not worry about visualization, not to worry about thought, not to worry about what someone said, not to even think about what I said in this video. All you got to worry about is to stop thinking, because you have to bury it into your subliminal rhetoric that thought itself and reason and logic and creation and imagination and all that stuff is accountable in the neurology, or is a byproduct of fantasy by any degree. Once you're able to pre-exist all of that and have a genuine experience of life, it's very profound. It's very profound. It's like waking up from a dream where all of a sudden everything has like a quiet and meaningful hum to it. And it has nothing to do with what you expected. It's not living out expectation. It's not living out fantasy. It's not living out dreams. It's merely being a recipient of reality as it passes in this sort of continual stream. And it's nice because it's very quiet. I spend a lot of time thinking. About my worldview and Aristotelianism and objectivity and awareness and arguments I've had with people and debates I've had with people or am having with people. It's great to switch off And it's not so much that we submerge ourselves in self-indulgence like we would in fantasy, like watching a movie or talking, if we're a Christian and we're feeling a little under the weather by talking to too many atheists, we go and talk with our other Christian friends. What rather I would suppose is a better thing to do is to have a genuine meditative experience where you pre-exist language itself. Enjoy.